gorgeous afternoon, and I thought I would take the opportunity to fix my Euphorbia Trigona Rubra. Now it looks as if there's been a little bit of rot at the bottom of this beautiful branch here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it and make cuttings out of the top part. But Euphorbias have a poisonous white sap. So you definitely don't want to get it on your skin, certainly not in your eyes, and this is probably not a good plant to have if you have small children or pets. I wouldn't recommend having that anywhere in reach of pets or children. So let me get started. This did happen before, and I cut one down, and it's kind of loose. I'm going to replant this better. But let me show you what happened after I cut it, and I let it callus over. I put a little rooting hormone on it. I did replant it. I probably did this one in the fall, so it didn't do too much growing, but it will grow roots. So this is an example of what I did before. And as you can see, the top part of this plant looks healthy. It just needs to be buried a little deeper. So I'm gonna plant that one back in over here where it was. Just put it in a little deeper, but there's no need to panic when these things happen. There are some plants that have a hard time indoors over the winter, and I've lost a few, and I've had a few situations like this, but it's easily remedied. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm just going to pull this whole part out if I can, and get rid of this bottom part. As you can see, this is completely dried out. So the only reason the top part of the plant is alive is because it does still have moisture inside. So let me go ahead and take a knife. It's a sterile steak knife, and I've dedicated this to my gardening. I don't really take any chances, especially when I'm trimming up poisonous plants. I don't take chances with our cutlery, but I'm using everything disposable here, and then I can wash my gloves afterwards. But let me go ahead and give this a cut. Now if you can see, it's right where it comes into a couple branches. So I'm going to end up with two cuttings here. If you can see right here, these two branches kind of come down here, and this is where it has rotted out. So I want to cut a couple inches above that, make sure that whatever's going on down here, could have been a lack of water, could have been too much water, but we're going to get rid of that part, and I'll show you what we do with the cuttings. So I'm just going to cut right through here. Another reason to wear gloves with these guys is they really have some sharp points here. And here we go. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about with the white sap. This is coming out at the bottom, kind of oozing out and dripping. So very quickly, we are going to put this in a disposable cup of ice water. And I'm just going to leave that there for a couple of minutes. That will stop the bleeding. I really don't care about the bottom part because that's just going to be tossed. But here's a little example of how much sap comes out, and it drips out like blood. So you do want to stop that right away. Otherwise, the plant's going to lose a lot of moisture, and that's not really good for a cutting. So let's see if it's stopped. So it looks better. It stops. To put it in ice water, or any water really, it's going to stop that sap from coming out. So I'm going to let it sit there for a couple minutes, and I'm just going to fill back in this hole over here, and it doesn't really need very long in the water. So if this one's planted deeper, I think everything else looks okay on this plant. All the other stalks seem to have made it through the winter. So I'm not going to worry about anything else. It looks pretty healthy. In fact, I think it did a little bit of growing in the early winter. This might be a winter grower. So I am not going to plant it right away in there. I am going to dip the cuttings now that I have stopped the sap from coming out, that's just water dripping off, I'm going to go ahead and dip it in a little bit of rooting hormone. And I put it on something disposable because I sound like such a worrywart. This is also something you really don't want to come into contact with your skin, but especially you don't want to breathe in any rooting hormone. And it's a little bit of a windy day, so I have to be careful here. But that's how it's going to look, and I will let it dry. I'll probably let this sit for about a week. It is a pretty wide cutting, but in a week or so, maybe even less, it'll dry up, and that's when you're able to plant it. And once it's in soil and it has calloused over, it's going to send out some more roots and become another plant. And I could put these in a different pot, but I think I'm just going to put it back in the same pot and keep it as a full plant there. And I'm going to go ahead and do another one. This one has a little branch on it. I'm just going to dip this and put it aside. And those should dry up nicely, and the rooting hormone is going to encourage some roots to grow as well. It's not always necessary, but it really does give your cuttings a head start. So it's a good idea. Let me show you which one I used. There's lots of different brands on the market. This is the one I happen to have right now. So that's about it. That is how I'm going to fix my euphorbia and how I take cuttings. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Have a good day.